Today I'd like to do a short overview of the Hypersizer database templates. This is important to set up before your stress group starts doing some serious analysis, because what we need to start off with a database, Hypersizer database with consistent materials, units, plugins, load factors, and import options. There are many things that we can set within a template, and a template really is just an empty Hypersizer database. As you can see on my screen here, it's just an HDB file with no projects. So one of the interesting things in the template is that you can open a project, make a bunch of settings on how you want Hypersizer to work, and you can close the database, the project, and save the template, and then use that template to kick off Hypersizer every time. In a moment I'll show some details of that, but what I want to show for now is that the standard place for the database is in your C drive, Hypersizer data, and database template. And we can have more than one template. We can actually have several. And now Hypersizer has a new feature where when you boot up, you can get to choose which template you wish to use. I've booted Hypersizer. This is the screen we get when we boot. You've got a preference, options, and here's where your database template list is in this directory. This is where we keep our files. Obviously we could use any location we wish. One item is that if you work in a big corporate group, this really needs to be not on your local machine, but on the server somewhere, and perhaps later I'll show how to do that. So what do we keep in this template? The first thing that we need to keep are the materials and the laminates and our composite properties. And just to give an example, these properties here are what comes with a standard Collier template. Most corporations might wish to edit these or make new properties. So if I open this 2024 T3 and I want to make something, say I want to make a 2024 T3, I work at Lockheed. All I do is I do a save as, and I'm going to call this one Dave. And now what we can do is change some of these properties. So I didn't like those properties, or just a little bit different to our corporate properties. Unlikely, but it happens sometimes. And now I can just simply go to save. Notice that that material has now come up in this material family property. If I now save this empty database template, I can now use this Hypersizer database and place it in that default directory, and now use this as my new template. We can also do something similar for the layouts. So we have laminates. And here we review one of these layouts. This is a laminate. So a laminate is really a material with a layout. So if we're optimizing composites, it's very useful for us to create some laminates that we would prefer to use with the layout rules per our corporation. A lot of corporations have different rules of how many 45s you can have in one sequence, etc. There's a lot of rules. Maybe we'll get time to discuss that later, but you can do the same thing, and you can edit these laminates and create new ones. the project setup form, the most likely options you wish to set up are first the units. Most persons in the United States will be using the inches units. You must make sure that your template includes this option. Also, the analysis defaults, our limit and ultimate factors, whether we want to do element-based analysis or 2 sigma for the components. And we can set up all of our analysis options here, which is our default analysis options that we wish to see when we boot up an empty database. So you would simply turn these on and off, whichever you wish, and save the empty database and move this to the template folder shown earlier on. Also, if we go to the sizing form, we can set up a multitude of options here. I can't really go into the details because it would take too long. Collier doesn't document too well exactly which of these will save and which don't, so it's kind of a trial and error approach, but a lot of these options are savable. So for instance, you could put 030 in here. You could turn this option on here. You could say I want pressure on my panel to be the default. In my buckling, I could set up the boundary condition defaults. I could set up probably this knockdown factor. And we could even come in here and perhaps set some defaults. So these are very much up to the individual. We can even, I think, set up the options here, whether we want to sort these margins by the lowest margin of safety or the controlling load case. I think those are savable in the template. So what happens is, once you've set that up, let's try and get back to where we need to be here. Once you've set up the options, obviously we would save here, close this down, and any project we set up, we would now delete this project. I don't want to delete these because this is a database, but essentially when you boot up the template, you don't want to see projects. So ironically, even though you delete that project, those defaults are still in this template that you set up within that, both the project form and the sizing form. And of course, you could actually, probably very important too, is set up your backdoor data in the template. Again, I think I had a lesson on that for the individual topic. So in summary, this is probably the first task before anyone starts doing any real analysis. Is most corporations, you need to have a go-to Hypersizer guy that takes care of all this stuff and make sure everybody's working with the same database, the same assumptions, the same analysis methods, and that helps a great deal. So thank you very much. I hope that helped a little. Thank you.